Congratulated Bob on going to the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
To give him his flowers, do you remember back when you were in college and Bob calling any of your games?
Raycon, was it? Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. He probably doesn't. It was probably uneventful. But that was Dan Bonner. There was quite a crew. Terry Gannon did a few games every now and then, if I recall. So the answer is yes. And you do too, right? Because you were in there. Okay. All right.
We all get old, baby.
Mine were less eventful than yours.
Hey Quinn, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you're top 10 in the league in terms of successful challenges this season. I was wondering if you could explain your strategy for how you use those and how it's evolved, since the league started implementing that system.
Yeah. Well, Brittany Donaldson is the person that has the video on the bench, like many teams do. I think everybody's kind of looking to see if they can get more information to know if you want to take that chance or not, what the probability is, and if there's going to be potentially a foul prior to violation or foul that could impact those situations you don't want to challenge, because you may win the challenge that you're thinking you're winning, but not. In any event, all those factors are taken into account, whether you're taking points off the board. Occasionally a player that'll pick up a third foul early in the game you want to protect, or something along those lines. But that's her, and she deserves the credit for that, not me. I just I don't know if it's like the gladiator when you do yes or no, but it's something we've talked a lot about as far as how we kind of execute, because there is time pressure, and there'll be an occasion where we may take a chance on something, and I can remember those that where I didn't wait because we might not have information, and usually I'm wrong. So my best strategy on that is to listen to Brittany, and I'll pass that on to her.
Quinn, this time of year, it's not easy for you guys to have time to practice between games.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that you didn't play since Thursday, how have you been able to use that time to tweak some things, get the other guys a little bit more implemented and more comfortable with what you're doing?
Yeah, I think usually the way that our schedule's been, you have travel days in between too, so it becomes harder. You're weighing just the cost benefit of practicing versus rest or whatever. So I think you have to be really deliberate about those times. There's a list that starts to pile up from the staff and myself, and those are things you meet on, and do the best job you can at focusing on some things that you may feel like you need to improve on previously, or even looking ahead, when you don't have practice time to plan for some upcoming games, not just one game ahead, but you can kind of look at a schedule. But it's it's imperfect, but regardless, it's good to get out there, and one of the biggest things I think is to try to have a practice where there's some energy too. I think you get more out of it that way, and so mixing that all together, how much you can go live and have contact is always tough, particularly in our case, because your roster gets depleted, and you kind of think someone falls down and you're like, ooh, you end practice because you're concerned about some of that. But you don't always have to go live competition, against players against each other to get something out of it.
As you prepare for this game, Pistons on a 5-game winning streak that won each of the games by at least 10 points. Mm-hmm. Have you seen a common thread in this sort of stretch of good play from them?
Yeah, I think honestly they've been playing well throughout the course of the season. The last time we played them here, they were, they had hit a stride as well. They're really running. They're super efficient. in transition, converting and getting out. And I think having multiple guys that can bring the ball up the court, obviously Cade, but Harris, now Dennis, Schroeder. So they're shooting, particularly Beasley and Hardaway, but really Harris, a lot of those guys, they're shooting the ball well because they're getting good looks and they're sharing the ball. I know I'm giving you a lot of things, but when a team is playing well, it's usually not due to one thing. They're a connected roster. The offensive glass is another thing that they do well. So they're a really good team, and as you said, they're playing well right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.